Okay. Today I'm talking to Saudalia, and she is a photographer and videographer for families and weddings, and she's based in Provo, Utah. And so I just want to tell me a little bit more about your business, like how long you've been in business and just kind of where you are.
Yeah, so I started Saudalia E photo and film last year, well, I guess December of 2015. It started out just as photography, but I started doing video and I fell in love with it, so I added that on. And I mostly do weddings, but out of weddings come family and portraits, and I love it all. It's so fun.
Great. So, which part do you think you like the most? Because one of the things that you touched on is that you do photography and videography, and as you know, a lot of times you get advice that you need to really just focus in on one thing. So is it like your customers that you meet? Is it the editing that you like? Is it just being there in the moment? What's your favorite part?
I love the customers, like everyone that I meet doing it, and being able to just capture those moments. With video, it's a lot easier to kind of like tell the story of the moment, which is what I love. But I also love being able to like just capture one snapshot, like one picture that just says it all. So that's like, I guess, where I'm torn is like being able to tell a story through video or through just one simple picture. But I love the like emotions that are portrayed through both of those mediums.
Yeah. Okay, so instead of always feeling like you have to pick one or the other, sometimes I think a really great way to look at it is how can you make whatever it is work for you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Because a lot of people have, multiple things that they like to do, and that's really normal. But sometimes it's not about dropping it; it's about figuring out how to like optimize that for yourself. So some things that I kind of thought about were looking to the future to kind of see where you think that you could maybe grow and scale your business, or kind of what your goals may be. And the other thing that you touched on in your little questionnaire was that you felt like you maybe had some branding problems because you weren't really sure about how to market to your ideal client. So that's something that I think that we could really dig into and maybe just work through one-on-one some branding exercises, if that sounds like something you're up for.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm up for that.
So, okay. So what I think we should do is just do some regular branding exercises, because I'm sure you've heard a lot about the term ideal client. And you really have to know who it is that you're marketing to actually get that strategy in place. But that's really only part of it, because so much of that depends on your, what I call brand foundations, which is really your mission, your vision, your goals, your ethos. And so I thought it'd be fun to just kind of talk through some of those, because since you're new, or it really doesn't matter that you're new in your business. I mean, it's a good thing to go back and reference all the time. Like just this last few weeks, I've been thinking about kind of changing the service that I have, and sort of struggling around, is that really a good fit for me? Am I going to like this? And so I've really had to go back to my core foundation and think about that. Does it fit my brand? Does it fit the goals that I have and like what I really want to do? So let's just talk through some of those. And I'm kind of putting you on the spot, so don't worry about that. But so tell me about your why. Like, what is the reason that you want to do this business?
I think one of the main reasons is I want to help other people see like the good in their lives and just focus on that and cherish that and be able to fall back on that when times get hard. And I mean, like, things are crazy right now. So I just want people to be able to like remember the good and the happy moments in their lives.
Okay, good. And what is your goal for yourself? And that can be different things. It can be a certain level of growth or, money. It can be a lot of different things. What would you say were like your top couple of goals?
Well, financially, I'd love to be able to, like, replace my, like, full-time income, I guess. So to be able to live off of that. And I don't know, I'd love to be able to I just want to be able to do it, I guess, to work at least every week. Right now, it's like I get 2 or 3 a month, which is great. And like some weeks are super busy, and then some weeks are like dead. So I just love consistency,
right?
To do it.
So you have a full-time job, and this is a business that you're building on the side. Is that right? Okay. What's your full-time job?
So I work as a training specialist. So just creating training programs for a company.
Okay. And what do you think, like, how would you describe the spirit of your company? That may be kind of like a different one, but your ethos is like the spirit of your brand. So it's when you look at your values and your mission, and you think about how you want people to feel about the kind of work that you do.
I just like adjectives. Is that what you're looking for? I'm not.
Yeah, like, is there an adjective that you think would describe how you want people to feel?
Like carefree, I guess, and happy and lighthearted.
Okay, so like, this is another exercise that helps you kind of define what your style is. And so when you're telling me carefree and happy and savoring like all the good moments, then I'm automatically taking the kind of photography that you do, and I can cut a lot out. So, I mean, you're not bourgeois, obviously. You're not that kind of like dark and moody. You're none of those things. So what you're telling me fits in with families and weddings, and that's good. So it's kind of like you can check that off. Okay, great. That's what, because you want all of those things to align. You want the way that you describe your brand, how people feel when they work with you, and the actual work that you have to all align so that it does create a cohesive message. So, and once you have that really well defined, then you hold everything up against it. You look at your business cards, does it match? You look at the website, does it match? You look at your interactions with people, does it match these things that I'm saying that I want? Okay. And so it makes it easy as you go through and define your services, as you start to get different skill sets. You just go back to what you said that you wanted, because your core values and your mission, like why you're doing this, doesn't change, but the way that you do it or the customers that you serve can definitely change. If that makes sense. So then when you have all of those things, then you want to go in and say, okay, who is my ideal client? And there are some quick ways to do that, which is if you can identify a couple of people that you've worked with that you loved, then you want to look at that and break down that. Was it the process? Was it the creative freedom? Was it the family? Was it that they met my budget? It could be all of those things. And that kind of starts to give you a guideline of who you would want to work for. And then it can be a mixture. You can have like a combination person. You can pull things completely out of your head and just know, like, if you see high budget weddings and that just makes you like, so happy on the inside, then you know that you have a completely different client and you need to reverse engineer like how to get to that person. If you really love doing family stuff, like you have to figure out what it is that you really love and then narrow in, because everybody has a different budget, but for everything that you want to do, there's a person that can afford it. Okay. So once you identify who that person is, and their budget is part of it, like if you know that the kind of service that you want to offer is for a person that can afford to spend $500 to $1,000 for a family session, then you have to go for that person. That person is going to be in a different place than the person who only has a couple of $100 and they maybe get photos once a year and it's a big deal, and that's okay. I mean, I think that I also hear a lot of people who feel bad, Some people really want to offer services to the people that can't afford to get photos. And some people don't, because that's not the thing that makes them really happy. And you have to do what makes you happy. So if you identify that client, then you can decide from that person, what age they are, what's important to them, what their budget is. Then you can define what your services are going to be. So based on their personality, are they the kind of person that loves to do a mini session 4 times a year at every season? Are they the kind of person that always gets, Easter pictures, Christmas pictures, all of those types of things? But the area that you're in is very obviously geared towards families, being in Utah. And so, excuse me, the interesting thing about that is once you have a wedding client, if you do weddings and families, then you automatically, if you have them for a while. They're going to have lots of children and birthday parties and showers and things like that. So you just kind of have to decide what it is specifically that you would want to do for that person. Okay. And with the videography, that could go 2 ways. Like, I don't see a lot of people that do the photo and the video, so you have to figure out how that would work for you. Would you really want to do video for a wedding? And I know that involves usually more than one person and lots of cameras and lots of things like that. That may not be what you like. Maybe you like that they're just kind of simple, more in the moment kind of stuff. So figuring out what it is exactly that you want to offer when it comes to video could be a real difference for you. It could also mean that you could expand and have another person so that you have some, you could go into an event and do the videos and the photos all in, so they could have that service from the same person instead of having 2 different people.
Yeah, that's true.
But that would just kind of depend on, if you wanted to grow your business like that, and maybe you don't. So you have lots of options, but it's identifying who you're doing it for, and then what really is, where your passion really is. And it can change. You may start doing something and decide, this is not for me. I've second shot on a few weddings, and that was enough for me to know that I would never want to do that. I would never, ever want to do weddings. I wouldn't want the pressure, and it wouldn't be for me. Within my own business now, I do a lot of web design, but recently I've decided that I don't want to do custom sites anymore, like scratch coding, because I don't enjoy it. I used to like it, but I don't anymore, and there are other parts of my business that I like. So instead of just not offering web design, I'm going to be offering web design, but with themes or on Squarespace or something like that, instead of hand coding the whole entire thing. And also I found out that most of the people that I like to work with, my ideal clients, don't need that. They don't need it. So it's useless for me to struggle to do something that I don't like for somebody and promote that to people that don't need it. That doesn't make sense, but that has just been a growth. And so you're still new, and you have a full-time job, so you don't have anything to lose by kind of experimenting and seeing how this whole thing evolves. But definitely sort of figuring out who your client is. Do you think you know already? Do you have an idea?
Yeah, I've had a couple of people I've worked with, couples that just, they're so chill, I guess. Mm-hmm. I can't think of another word, but they just they go with the flow. And I realized that those are the type of people that I like working more, and they kind of help fuel my creativity rather than the people that are so uptight and worried about time and everything like that. I have noticed that with those people. I'm just not sure how to attract them. But
do you think that the people that are laid back are going to be the people that are going to pay you the most money?
probably not. Now that I think about it. Oh boy.
So that's something to consider.
Okay.
If it's the people that let you really express your creativity, that may not be weddings.
Yeah.
You know, because people are people are stressed and kind of turn into crazy people on their wedding day anyway, no matter how wonderful they are.
Yeah.
So it may be like, and it may be more engagement photos, or I forget what you call it, but when you dress for your wedding before your pre-wedding,
yeah,
pre-wedding stuff, or if it's the creativity that you really like, maybe it's just different kind of photos and it's not wedding.
Yeah. Well, I just noticed that with like couples that I do their engagements and then their weddings, if their engagements are like super chill and everything, and like they're just relaxed and they have fun with each other, then their wedding is just like that much better, because they're not like, I need you over here, take this picture, no, take that picture. They're just like, okay, you do your thing, we trust you. But those do tend to be the people that don't necessarily have the budget for that, or maybe it's just that those are the people that have come to me because I am just like starting out, so my prices are lower.
Right.
I'm not sure what it is.
Well, some of that trust too is going to be in the strength of your portfolio.
Right.
So another thing about your ideal client is you have to think about what kind of photos are going to attract them. And if you are in a place where you don't have a lot of that yet, you can always do just connect with some local people that do flowers and things like that, and set up some styled shoots to show what your style is. Because when they 100% can identify your style, then they're going to trust you, because they know exactly what they're getting. Do you know what I mean? And you can, I'm sure you follow lots of photographers on Instagram, and you can tell. I mean, if you just love every single photo that you see, you're going to be like, let me give you all of my money, you know? Because you 100% trust that person, and you know what to expect. And that is the key thing about branding, is when you have a brand that lets people know what they can expect from you, and you commit to that, and they get it 100%. They get it in their conversations with you. They get it in the work that you put out. They get it in the way that you communicate and follow up with them. I mean, when people know what they can expect, then they're ready to give you their money. That's how you get customers who are ready to buy, because they understand. They know what they're going to get from you. They know what your photography is going to look like. And that's the other reason why the more that you niche down, the easier it is to pull people in, because there is no guesswork. And that's the kind of the difference between being a person that just does weddings and a person that does like weddings and families. So that is just something to think about, and you may just need some time to kind of figure out what you like doing more. But just kind of think about it. If you want pictures of your newborn, are you going to go to the person that does all photography, or the person that has like all newborn pictures, or a wedding photographer that has some? You're going to go for the person that you feel like is an expert, which would be the person that just does newborns. Okay. But there's also another way that you could go, which is just to be a person's family photographer. So you could kind of market yourself as being just a family photographer, but that you want to be, your family photographer, so that it feels more of a collaboration, and they have a long-term investment in you, so that once you get a client, you really keep them, because it's a lot easier to keep a person than it is to find a new person. Yeah. So that's kind of the thing with weddings, is that hopefully people just get married once, right? That's kind of the idea. So once you've served them by their wedding photography, then you're done with that client. If you are a family photographer, there's more room. You can really get in with the person and stay there. But if you really try to hone in on wanting to be a part of their family, like grow with them, be part of their family, capture all of those moments for them, then that's a way that you can start to kind of separate yourself. And that's the whole thing, is trying to stand out. And it's the things that are going to really pull in the people that you want. So again, it all keeps going back to what you really want to do and who you really want to do it for. And then you just kind of work backwards. So I know that's like a lot to think about. And it may seem kind of overwhelming, but you have time. And sometimes some people just know. They automatically know. But they've put in the time. Like, everybody has to go through kind of their own process of having clients and trying things and seeing what works and what doesn't work. And those can change. I mean, you may start your own family, and having to travel and work every weekend is just not something that you want to do, so things can always change, and that's fine. But as long as you know what you're in for, like what you really want to do, then you kind of stay the same course.
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
None that come to mind. That's really, I needed to hear that, because I'm like, right now I'm like, I want to do everything, but I know that I can't and I shouldn't. I need to really just focus down on one thing. But yeah, I just need to do that.
Yeah, if you can kind of outline, ask yourself those hard questions, things will start to shift and fall. And, some things are going to come to the surface and some things aren't. And it doesn't mean that you can't do those things, because the great thing about creativity is that creativity feeds creativity. And as artistic people, we all like to do different things. I mean, even if it seems like you only do one thing, maybe you only do that one thing for money, but you do lots of other things. You like to sew, or maybe you craft or paint, or, whatever it is, cooking. I mean, those are all things that fuel your creativity. So you don't have to feel like, well, I can never shoot another wedding. I mean, you can. It's not like you have to let go of one of your babies, You're not, but you're trying to decide that this is a business and I'm going to make business decisions because I'm a professional.
Okay.
So you look at your values, what you love to do, the client, and you really think about it. I mean, think about how that's going to work for you. Think about it like a professional. Where can you make the most money? Is this a business plan that can scale? And you just start putting a strategy behind it. You want to make sure that your portfolio and your Instagram and the stories that you tell, that they all feed into this one overall message. And so far, your message is that you want to help people capture those happy moments. But how can you do that makes you different from everybody else? Because when you can figure that out, you're golden.
Yeah.
Because you can't make a plan and know what to do without that bottom. Otherwise you're just throwing things out there.
Yeah.
And I mean, everybody's been in that place before. You have, but
yeah.
You kind of just have to change your mindset and really think it through. Don't feel like you're having to let go of something, but that you are giving yourself some guidelines to have more of the things that are working for you, financially, in your heart, how those two play together.
Okay. That's perfect.
So I know that's a lot to think about, a lot of thinking to do, but you can, and just kind of give yourself some space and time. And everybody thinks differently. If you have to make categories and write it down and figure it out that way, if you have to just kind of reflect on it and see what sort of comes to the surface. And it may take practice, or maybe you narrow it down some, and then this time next year you're like, nope, these things don't work, and you narrow it down more. So I think a lot of times we can not give ourselves very much grace when it comes to work, and we either feel like a ton of pressure to make everything perfect and work now, or we rebel against that and we just kind of give up, and that's not a good cycle to be in either. But it's more, just remember, it's a process of kind of figuring it out. And you have time and you have resources, and you will figure it out. Okay. So, well, tell me where we can find you online.
So my website is www.saudaliae.com. So it's kind of a tricky name, but I'm sure there's going to be a link somewhere. And then my Instagram is Saudalia E. And they're both updated regularly, so follow along.
So we'll follow along and see what you decide to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll probably announce it. Everyone have decided this.
I have made a decision. Well, it was so nice talking to you, and I'm looking forward to see what you come up with. And if you have any questions or anything, just email me.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Have an awesome weekend. Bye.
Thank you.